This is Eco Art with Mary, and we have a new lesson today. It is called Recycle Bin Treasure Maps. So you know when we do eco art, first we learn, then we create, and then we share. So for the learning part, one of the easiest ways to take care of our planet, super easy, is by either planting trees or taking care of trees. Trees naturally absorb CO2 or carbon, and that's what we have too much of in our environment. It's the CO2 in our atmosphere that's causing global warming, and trees naturally take in CO2. A mature tree over a year can take in 48 pounds of CO2, and over 40 years, a mature tree can take in 1 ton of CO2. So that is why we need to take care of our trees. Okay, here's the tricky part. As you know, a lot of our art lessons and the things we create, we use paper or cardboard, paper products that come from trees. So what can we do about that? There are alternatives. And surprisingly enough, you can find them in your recycling bin. Your recycling bin actually has a lot of things you can use for art other than a fresh piece of paper. Now, I know in previous lessons I've recommended Goose paper. Goose is good on one side paper, so that's always a wonderful choice. But also, you can use things that you find in your recycle bin. Now, you might say the things that are in my recycle bin, they're brown, they're wrinkled, they have folds in them, they have really unperfect things about them. And what I challenge you, and we're going to find out today, is you can look at it as an imperfection, or you can look at it as a creative opportunity. And you can use that imperfection and incorporate it in your design, which is really cool. So let me give you some examples. Grocery sacks. On the inside, usually there's no printing. So here's an example of a grocery sack. You can guess where I shop. And we're getting a lot of these right now because a lot of stores won't let you use your cloth bags, right? So when I folded this together, those handles you might think are an imperfection, they looked like mouse ears to me. So that's an example. But look at this side. If you pulled off those handles, you have a big piece of paper there to use for something. This is another thing from my recycle bin. Some of you may have this for dinner sometimes. My children do. So this would be great for doodling or creating something that you need something stiff like cardboard. Instead of using new cardstock paper, you could use your old cereal box or your old mac and cheese box. Junk mail, the back of envelopes, a lot of times are totally blank. Here's one example. This is a piece of junk mail that I got yesterday, and look at this. This is perfectly white space for doodling, drawing. Color would look great on it. So just look at all that. So think of junk mail. Here's something else I found in my recycle bin. An envelope. I got a card from a friend. This is the back of the envelope, and you can see I did some doodling on it and made it look kind of like a dog. And I incorporated the flap into my design. And look what I did. When you open it up, it's got some teeth in there. So this is what I mean by taking the imperfections of your recycling bin paper or items and incorporating them creatively into your design. And last but not least, and this is what we're going to use today, if you have it, if not, I would recommend the inside of a grocery sack. How many of you get Amazon boxes? Some of you may. I get them. I try not to consume too much, but sometimes I need something, and I get it from Amazon these days. And in order to make the item not move around the box, they put brown paper. Have you ever seen that in a box? If you haven't, maybe ask your parents. But this is a perfect example. This came in a box. It was all crunched up, and you can see how big I'm going sideways, sideways, sideways. Look at how big this piece of paper is. So Today, for our art lesson, for our recycle bin maps, I recommend that you use some Amazon paper, if you have it. Now, it is up to you what size you want to make your recycle bin treasure map. Let's take a look at what that's going to look like.
So here is what we are creating today. This is our recycle bin treasure map. And you can see there's a lot going on.
All right, so now you have an idea of where we're going. You saw the finished product. So step number 1 is you decide on the size of your paper. Now, if you have a huge piece of Amazon paper, you may want to do a very large treasure map. You may want to do a small treasure map. If you want to do a large one, you don't have to finish it all in one day. I don't know if your family ever does puzzles, but puzzles take a long time. And we leave ours out on the table and everybody contributes. So if you wanted, you could go with a really large piece of paper like this for your land area, for your treasure map, and you could work on it over many days, and people in your family could add little features to your map if you wanted to have it be a family project. If not, if you wanted to go smaller, you could go with a smaller piece of paper like I did for my example. So this is not a huge piece of paper, but one thing you want to do is, as step number 1 is tear the edges of your paper so it's not a square. So it looks like an old, used up, torn map. Okay, so that's step 1, is tear the edges of your paper. All right, step 2 is you're going to draw your land mass. Now, let me get my dry erase board. So here's my dry erase board, and let's say this is my torn piece of paper. Okay? Now, you want your land mass to be uneven at the edges, kind of like your map, because real land doesn't have flat edges. You want to have points, you want to have bays, points that go out, bays that come in. So I'm going to start out with my land mass, but make sure you leave a little bit of space. I'm going to have a point that comes out here and a big bay right there. And notice I'm still being shaky. Coming in here, another bay, and there's my land mass. All right, so once you've got that, and I recommend doing your land mass in pencil first. Oh, I didn't talk about supplies. You are going to need the Amazon paper, and the other thing is you're going to need a pencil, and then color pencils work great. If you don't have color pencils, you could use marker, you could use crayon, but color pencils have a really fine point, so you can do fine detail work. So what I recommend is, with color pencil, once you've gotten your border of your land mass in pencil, then you take blue, dark blue, in a dark blue color pencil, and you make a dark border, kind of like this, all the way around. So you do that first, and once you've got your dark border all the way around, then you take a lighter color of blue, or you take the same blue and you fill in, but not so intensely around it. So it looks like you can really see the contrast of the land to sea. That's why we're doing this. So it's hard to do with a dry erase marker, but you get the idea. Okay, and then, so you go all the way around the edge like that, and then with brown, which I don't have a brown dry erase marker, so I'm going to use orange, you make a similar border, dark brown, all the way around the edge, the inside edge of the land mass. And you just leave that because your paper is brown, but your pencil that you use should be a darker brown. And so you go all the way around, which I'm not going to do, but I'm going to hold up the final product so you can see what it looks like. Let me bring it in close. See how I have dark blue here and then dark brown on the inside of my border. Okay, so now I've got my border for my map. All right, the next thing you want to think about is a theme or a name for your kingdom. And it can be anything. I'm gonna hold up some ideas for you to look at. So kingdom names and themes. So you could do an animal theme. You could do a theme that is your city. You could do, I'll give you some names, like the land of, what do I have there? The land of lizards, if you want a lizard theme. Fairy Fantasy Land would be another theme. And for inspiration, you can, if you have them, or you can get them from the library or look up online, the books The Hobbit and the Chronicles of Narnia. They have a lot of names of different areas, and they have maps often in the front of the book. Those are great books, and some of you have probably read those and you know what I'm talking about. So what happens is each area, once you have a theme, my theme was, and this is what the name I gave of my map was, Land of Laughs. And then from there, I named my different areas with names that matched that. And you can see I have City of Sparkling City. I have Giggling Gulch there. And I had Fanciful Forest. And here I have Happy Hills. So you take that theme and you can carry it throughout the different areas in your kingdom. So that's the theme. And again, you can do all different kinds of themes. There's more themes than I can even think of. I'm sure you will surprise me. Okay, so for your banner, what you want to do, your banner is either going to go at the top of your map or the bottom of your map. And for your banner, you want to think about, your banner starts out, your name banner, starts out as a rectangle, and you want to think about what you're going to put in the corners and when you're going to put around the frame. You could have plain corners and a very fancy, you could have no inside corners and a very fancy frame, or you could have very fancy corners and no outside frame. And here are some ideas for a fancy frame. All right, here are some corner ideas that I found on Pinterest for you. Of course, when you're doing this, you can pause and take a closer look. There's a few more. And still a few more. These are very fancy corners. You, of course, don't have to go that fancy. So if you choose to do one that kind of looks like a waving ribbon, I'm going to show you how to do that. You start with a rectangle, and then you go a little bit lower from the top edge and you go out. A little bit lower from the top edge and you go out. And then you go a little bit lower from the bottom edge and you go out. And you come in a little bit past that edge. And then you connect them with a V. And then you take little tiny lines and you bring the lines back in to the corner like that. And then a line going straight down. And you can see how that looks like, kind of like a ribbon. And then you'd put your name inside that. And for all the lettering, if you're just going to have a name of your kingdom, one name, or if you're going to name the kingdom plus little areas around, get creative with your lettering. Do cursive, do block letters, do bubble letters, do curly letters. I'm gonna do a curly. I'm gonna call just Mary Land. And there I got very curly with my Maryland. Okay, so that is an idea if you're gonna do a banner that looks like a ribbon. Also, for the corners, I've done some research, and here are some corner ideas for the interior if you want to do that.
Here are some frame ideas for your name banner. And again, that's only 3. You can do so many different ones. And you don't have to do one of these.
So, like I said, you put that banner at the top or the bottom, whichever you prefer, of your landmass. And now we're to the fun part. We're going to fill it in. All right, so you have on land and in the sea. So here's my list for you of ideas. And on land we have hills, farms, fields, volcanoes, caves, animals, lakes, rivers, bridges, forests, mountains, cities, castles, swamps, bogs, and plenty of other things that I'm not thinking of. Creeks. And then in the ocean, I have octopuses, seagulls, whales, waves, boats, islands, mermaids, sea monsters, pirate ships, and all matter of other things of the sea, which I'm sure you can think of many more than me. And also you want to include some details after that. You want to definitely have a compass. Like I've said, you want to name areas, and you also want to do a big X marks the spot where the treasure is. Okay, so I've given you a lot of ideas, but let's review some ideas of exactly how to draw those things, because sometimes in your mind you think you know how it looks, but it's really good before you start drawing it, if you can, to actually look at a picture of the thing you want to draw to give you ideas. So that's what I did. I went on Pinterest and I did a lot of little sketches of different features I wanted to include in my map. So let's take a look at those. I have some on land sketches, some on sea sketches, some compass sketches, and some city sketches. Here they are.
Here are some quick sketches that you can use for inspiration for the nature features on your map. You can see fields and forests and palm trees and all kinds of nature things. All right, and here are some quick sketches of some things you can put in your ocean. Waves, 2 kinds of waves. Fish, whale, sharks. Here's some quick sketches of buildings you can put in your villages or towns or cities. Very basic tents and grass, house, castle. I'm sure you can come up with some other cool looking buildings too. And here are my quick sketches. I got these from Pinterest. Ideas for your compass, which is key on a map. So don't forget that. And again, you don't have to do one of these and make up your own. You guys are so creative.
So now you've got lots of ideas of how to draw the different features you want to do on your map, and I encourage you to use lots of colors. Even though the background is brown, that doesn't mean that the map can't be super colorful. So I'm gonna go up close so you can see some of these. This is the Sea of Sillies, and that's my sea serpent, and you can see I use dark green for the outline and dark green for the scales, and then I have a lighter green inside. You can see my Giggling Gulch below my mountains, and I used white for my mountains. I have a castle and some butterflies around it, and I used, what did I use? Some silver and yellow with some blue flags, pink and red butterflies. I've got some houses there, a pond, a river. My hills, I start with dark green on the edges of my hills, and then I lighten up as I go down. I've got some fields there in brown, a forest over here, and you could do a lot more than that. And then here is my compass, and I recommend keeping your compass just in black and white. And you may want to do your features in pencil first, regular pencil and then go over them with colored pencil. And I also encourage you on when you're writing names of areas, do it in pencil first so you get the spacing how you want it and the fancy lettering how you want it, and then go over it with a black or a very dark color pencil. And that is our recycle bin treasure map. The land of laughs. Okay. So we learned about why trees are important because they take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. We learned how we can create things from our recycle bin products and not kill trees to do that. And now we're going to share. And there's two ways to share this project. One, of course, you can always post it and share it with friends, family. And when you post it, make sure you put the name Recycle Bin Treasure Map. So they think, oh, recycle bin, that's brown crunched up paper, and they used it for a beautiful piece of art. The other thing you can do is you can share really the idea with your family by getting an old, kind of maybe the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which is a standard printer sheet of paper. If you keep watching to see if a box comes in about that size, and maybe shorten the edges, and then on it put art canvases or art paper. And as you see good things in the recycle bin, pull them out and put them in the art canvas bin, or maybe just put them directly in there. Maybe it can go by the art, by your recycling bin. So incorporate it as something that's in your house so your whole family starts thinking about the idea of not using new paper and using things from the art canvases bin. Okay. That was a fun lesson. I can't wait to see all your maps. I bet they're really creative. Have fun.